Welcome to episode 1 of the Business and Babies podcast. Is this just another podcast you're going to record an episode for and then disappear off the face of the earth? Well, I'll tell you, it is not. 5 months ago today, Bonnie came into this world and I became a father. Me and Jill became parents for the first time, and that has opened our eyes up to... A lot of people talk about this chapter in life and you cannot prepare yourself for it. You can think what it's going to look like, but then there's a reality of what it's actually like. And for me, I massively misjudged what that would look like. I must admit, there was a part of my gut that was telling me the things that we were doing in business were never going to continue being the case when Bonnie gets here. But then there was the kind of devil on my shoulder, if you want to look at it that way, telling me that, yeah, no, you just need, you put in the sweat equity and you'll get rewarded for it. And that's what essentially we tried to do. We tried to run the business. We tried to run our lives as it was before Bonnie came into our lives. And eventually it didn't blow up, but it got to the point where there was, it wasn't a breakdown, but the only way I can kind of justify or label it with something you could say was a breakdown. It wasn't as if anything broke or blew up or anything. It was just the whole... me and Jill sitting down and going, like, the way things are working just now, it's not, we're going to burn both ourselves out. Jill went from badass entrepreneur in business or woman in business to 70 hours, 8 hours a week, transitioning into motherhood. And that transition was very slow. It was, fell pregnant, and then growing life with it inside her. But even right up until the day we went into hospital, she was still putting in 40 plus hours into the business and taking on the roles that essentially, looking back now, we should have stepped back and hired some of those positions. And if we couldn't hire, we needed to price the business right. And this is all things I want to get into in this podcast, but I'll come on to that in a sec. So yeah, Jill, Bonnie came into our lives, obviously downtime, but I remember in hospital, I was doing some work, replying to clients and sorting stuff that we had going on. And I look back at that and I'm like, why? It wasn't as if I was doing it out of like boredom. It was like, oh, I need to do X, Y, Z. I'll just do that just now. The transition over these last 5 months to, right, how we operate, it does need to change. It's not been like a sudden, like, this happened and then we changed it. It's been a gradual learning curve. Now, if I think back to my goals with the podcast, it was to do, I loved self-development. I like the art of becoming a better person, a better version of you, or being the best version of you that you absolutely can. And that always needs some sort of learning and development. So I found that when we were doing the business marketing podcast, there was elements in it for sure. But becoming a parent, it didn't feel right to talk about parenting stuff on a marketing podcast that we were running. So I was like, okay, I'll launch the Girl Dad podcast, and I recorded a total of 1 episode. I had 15 mapped out. I had guests that I wanted to bring on. And I even thought in a bigger strategy in terms of the partnerships and sponsorship opportunities that I would like to get. But had all that mapped out, 1 episode, and it was like, what are you thinking? Like, yes, it's a passion within yours, and yes, it's a great content strategy for you to do. But you're muddying the waters with your personal brand because you're meant to be the part owner of Bulletproof Studios, which is a content marketing business with the studio function on it. And then you're doing this like dad thing over here. And I kept going back and forth between the two, and it reminded me when I was doing fitness and had the podcast studio, and there was a bit of both back and forth, and I was like, what type of content do I create? So that then led me to creating zero content. Even on the studio side of things, very little was posted. I spoke about parenthood because that became one of the most important factors, the most important factor in my life. And now it's transitioned into this. This is my way of combining the two. And I never thought you really could combine the two, but thinking about it, building a business and building a family, or try to do them at the same time, comes with a lot of challenges, a lot of struggle, but equally the reason we do that is so that we can have a business that rewards us, that gives us the freedom, the time and the money to support a happy life. And that happy life for me is tied to my relationship with Jill and my relationship with Bonnie, and obviously friends, family and all that sort of stuff as well. But ultimately, that's why I'm doing this thing over here. So it felt like these two paths were kind of getting further and further away for me. Coming up to the studio and then going, normally I'll go up to the studio at 6 o'clock and I'll just stay there till like 10 at night. And I was doing that a couple of times. I say a couple of times, I was doing that for the majority of the start of Bonnie being in our lives, the first couple of months. And then I just felt this, I don't know what it was like in the back of my mind. I was like, what are you doing? Like, yes, if I went home, Bonnie would be in bed, but it's like, is this worth it? That's ultimately what it was coming back to. It's like, is what you're doing worth it? And really, I was putting hours into the business that weren't really growing it. It was sort of just clearing our feet and ticking off what needed to be done that day, and then the next day there was more stuff to be done. So I wasn't actually growing anything. And then tried to bring more leads into the business, and then it just ended up blowing up in the sense where I snapped several times actually throughout this, and kind of like just like a sharp, snappy argument like towards Jill, and it almost was like I was maybe attacking her for some of the things, like I don't know, it's like, oh, why have you like, why is the car seat sitting there? And it's like I've then projected my own insecurities across to her. And it could be something, one of the ones I laugh at actually is like one of the first times like I was changing Bonnie and I was trying to do everything myself because I was like, I've not spent any time with Bonnie. Jill's obviously feeding her and she's doing the night feeds and she's sleeping in the bed, but she needs to sleep next to Jill because she feeds her through the night, etc. I just felt left out, and she was really like, but anyone with babies knows, so it's just hysterical crying. They're a baby. And that hysterical crying, you feel bad, so you're trying to calm her down, and Jill came in the room to help. And I took that as a personal attack on me. I was like, she thinks I'm not competent enough. She thinks because I've not been here that I am not capable of changing my daughter's nappy. And it wasn't fuck at all. Like she didn't care. She was coming in to help because parents, we're a team. We need to help each other out. And I was taking those, it was instances like that I'd maybe snapped in the moment. That it didn't cause like an argument then, but it was a build up over the last couple of months. And this is essentially why I want to do this podcast, because I want to touch on those points. I want to share those experiences, but I want to also hear from other people's journeys and how they've managed this dynamic, because me and Jill were husband and wife, training partners, business partners, like the art of the game of life, doing everything together. And there's this part where Jill's not separated, but it's like the business side of things that she has an input to, but that her transition just now is to this life of motherhood. And for me, I'm like, I feel like I'm getting left behind. I'm like, oh, Jill's moving over to the parental world and motherhood, and it's like I want to move over to fatherhood, but it's like I feel like I'm not keeping up to that. I don't feel like I'm on that same path. I feel like the only way I can describe it is like falling behind. And that it's such a weird thing, because it's not that anything changed in terms of the goals. It's just like, fuck, I just feel like there is more that I could be doing and then I'm not doing it. And that's a massive hit to someone's ego who more or less took care of everything themselves. It's like I could step into the situation and it was on me to fix it. And now when you have a kid, you have to rely on both your strengths. So sometimes babies will cry just because they've been in the presence of someone, and by being handed over to someone else, they stop crying. So then if, for example, again, another example here, I'm holding Bonnie and she's starting to get worked up and she's super upset, and I go out a walk with her and that would normally settle her down, and it doesn't settle her down. And I'm like, oh, what the hell? And then I come in the house and as soon as Jill takes her off me, she settles down. And then me, again, reading that situation completely wrong, I take it as a personal insult to my identity and feeling of not being good enough and very victim-y and all that sort of stuff, and just honestly just being a wee bitch with it all. It has to be said, and people will say, oh, don't speak to yourself like that. I'm all about self-love and respect and everything, but ultimately you need to read the situations that you're in. And I was being a wee pathetic bitch in these situations, being a wee victim and kind of lashing out at Jill, who's doing a fucking incredible job of raising our daughter. And it's like realising, right, okay, this is now her strengths, whereas before maybe some of those strengths were in the business world, and we could always help each other. and we could always do each of the roles simultaneously. Like I could switch and do some of the marketing strategies when she could switch and do some of the marketing strategies. So in this scenario, it's like I can't fix the crying baby. I can't fix Bonnie being upset. It has to be, I have to hand that part over to Jill because she's feeding her, or she's got a different bond with her, or she just wants her mum. That might just be where it comes down to. So that again has been another part of this kind of learning curve of right, I need to stop taking this so personally, and I need to just I need to breathe. I need to compose myself and think of, right, what else can I do then? So if I can't help Bonnie, I can help Mum, I can help Jill. Dishwasher's at full, let me empty it. Clean up the house. Let me change the nappy. Like, there's so many things that, especially over the last couple of weeks, I'm not saying I've got this right. This has been a 5-month build up to even doing this podcast. But the role, I see my role as two things as a dad just now. And when your child comes into this world, you don't so there's a common saying out there that when you become a father, you don't have a connection to your kid. It normally takes a couple of, I've heard it's all business owners as well, so they didn't really like their kid or didn't feel anything towards their kid until they were 3-4 years old, because they have personalities and they have cues that you can respond to. And I understand where they're coming from, but that doesn't mean you do not connect with your kid. So for me, where I've found the joy and found this kind of love or falling, honestly, the only way I can describe it is falling in love, not from a weird way, but an actual family parental instinct that's built into us. I think there's a Greek word, Charlie Kirk. I get hit with a reel the other day. I think it's called storge, and it's this unconditional love that's obviously not platonic. Or is it platonic? I actually don't know what that word means, and I've just said it. But anyway, it's this parental love, and that's the part that I can develop with my daughter. And how that gets developed is spending time. And how I spend time is obviously very restricted in terms of where I show up, through the balance of things have to be done in the business world, because it's not as if we just have a thriving business and I can take some time off. In hindsight, would I have loved to do that? Yes, but it is what it is, and we are where we're at with it. So to me, it's right, okay, let me create a time where, when we go outside, I can go out, I can walk her, I can hold her, I'm connected to her, and even her just looking up and looking at me, it's oh, right, I'm building a connection. As she's getting older, she's got more cues as well. When she's a baby, it was she fell asleep on you, and that sleep again, when she falls asleep on you, it's there's a feeling that I cannot describe, and you can go from hysterical crying baby, your every fight or flight fight senses in your system is heightened, and then as soon as that baby calms down or cuddles you or smiles towards you, it's gone. So off on a tangent here, but essentially the last 5 months have been highs and lows of this. Not highs and lows of parenthood. Parenthood has been an absolute joy, but in terms of the realistic side of things, talking about how my attitude's been in my self-development journey and the business journey with it has been very messy. And I guess I'm grateful for the mess, because it leads me to a point to go, okay, right, what needs to change? Bringing on a team and building a team in this business of people who want to work here and want to be a part of the growth mission that we're on is a part of that as well. So that's something that we knew we wanted to do over a year ago. It took us a year. It took us until Bonnie was in our lives to actually pull the trigger. There's a common phrase out there that everyone says, "Oh, just wait till you have kids. Wait till you have kids. Oh, hi, good luck running that business when you have kids. You don't have as much time when you have kids." Obviously, things need to change, but what you don't realise is that can be the fuel to fix the things that should have been fixed, or do the things that should have been done prior to becoming a parent, prior to having a family. So this has opened up this whole world of business, opportunity, strategy, self-development, and building a family. I've got a lot that I want to talk in this, and I've got a lot of people who, just by default, I've got a lot of good sort of business connections with a variety of different businesses that people run, but ultimately most of them are parents, and most of them, in fact all of them, the reason they've got a successful business or building successful businesses is so they can not provide for their family, but have a good life for their family. And I think there's something to be, I think it's maybe a part that all of us want to strive towards. And again, this is obviously very targeted towards building a business, but building a career is a part of this as well. I'm always very conscious of this because it is maybe one of the reasons we didn't bring people or hire anyone initially, because it's like, oh, we're talking about entrepreneurship and doing your own thing and working for yourself and all that sort of stuff. It's like part of the self-development chat that you hear. But ultimately, that can still be done in a 9-to-5. That can still be done working for someone. I guess there's a difference between working for someone else and working with someone else. So yes, you can be this in a role where you have a set salary and you're paid and you have hours that you trade in, but that's not the be all and end of what you do within those hours. Do you enjoy it? Do you feel like you're contributing? Do you feel like you're getting rewarded? Do you feel that you're developing your own skills? Because it's like, yes, self-development's a skill and I want to become a better dad, but in order to become a better dad, I need to show more interest in business and marketing and fitness and like how I like just other interests. You need to have something that's interesting in parenthood. Yes, you can't just have your life about being revolved around just you, your family and your kids. You need to have something to you because that's what makes you a person. That's what makes you personal, your experiences. So like I need to have interests like anime. Do I watch as much anime? No, but it's like all these different things play a part of your character. And if that character's not being developed, then you kind of lose your substance a little bit. And I can see why so many people can get lost and frustrated. But the last thing I want to talk about here before I wrap up this first episode, because there's multiple different episodes we're going to do off the back of this. These will be weekly. And I'll be bringing guests on in the field of family, parenting, self-development, but also the business side as well. I don't know what structure, I don't know how to set this structure up, because I think one pushes the other one out and the other one pushes the other one out. So I'm not sure. I'll see how it goes. But the thing and the reason for me to talk about this and to bring this up and start creating a conversation around it, men, they always say, oh, men are lonely, you need to talk to more people. I'm what's described as a lone wolf, as they would say. I've got friends and I've got people in my life that I would consider friends and have friendship bonds. But ultimately, I like the soloness. I like the solitude of just being alone. I would rather be alone than be in a room that's busy. And that being said, like obviously, my priority is like Jill, Bonnie, Cooper, and then there's the kind of friendship and family after that falls in after that. Now, through this whole thing, it doesn't matter. The whole chat around, it's a separate episode, it's something completely different, but the whole chat around men's mental health and speaking more on that, what I've found is guys don't actually care as much, right? So you can open up and you can talk to your friend about it, but we've all got our limitations of up until how much can we help someone else before it becomes about yourself. We all need to be the main character in our lives. And to rely or lean on someone else is a good strategy. I'm not saying it doesn't work, or it probably works actually for more people. But for me, I was like, I don't really find that that's helped me. But what has helped me is to internalise the true feelings that I've had in these situations where I've been frustrated and I've started projecting and I've analysed what's actually happened. It's made me feel better. Me nipping and saying or telling anyone else about that wouldn't have helped that situation. So the journey of fatherhood, parenthood, it is going to be a lonely one. And I think, to be honest, actually saying that out loud, again, that could be another insecurity. Could generally be another insecurity of mine. It maybe is absolutely a bit of community and everything. Like, what do you like when you connect with someone who likes the same football team as you, the same anime show as you, the same workout era as you, or the same workout routine as you connect with them more. So I can only imagine for anyone that's building a business and a family at the same time, you're going to resonate more with this, and there's going to be more for us to talk about. And yeah, that's a lonely journey. Maybe it doesn't have to be lonely. Maybe that's the point that I need to get across. But yeah, I've done a lot of podcasts. I mean, a wee bit rusty on it for this first episode back. I like the format. I like the raw talking aspect of it. we're gonna build successful businesses together while becoming strong parents to raise strong sons and daughters for the future. Because ultimately, that's the best way to change the way the world is going, by raising the next generation. I think there's only so much we can do with our generation. I would say it's fucked, but it starts with us. It certainly does start with us. So thank you for tuning in. If you get any questions, leave a comment below. Who do you see in the world of fatherhood, of motherhood, families, while that are also juggling the chaos of running a business and seem to be doing it well, or talking about it? I actually don't, try to find someone that spoke about this out loud. I couldn't find anyone, but then again, my algorithm's going to be biased towards anime shows, not necessarily anime and marketing, not necessarily them, so, or those types of subjects, sorry. So yeah, I think I'll just keep this attached. This will just be an extension, or I'll change the name of Bulletproof Studio, so this will now be called Business and Babies Podcast. In Babies. Business and Babies doesn't make sense. Who knows? Leave me a comment below, and I'll see you guys on next week's episode.